In the aftermath of the American Revolution, George Washington stood at a crossroads few leaders in history ever reach. He commanded the loyalty of a victorious army, enjoyed immense public admiration, and presided over a fragile new nation with no clear blueprint for leadership. Many revolutions before and after America's ended the same way, with a general crowned as king or lifelong ruler. Washington had every opportunity to do exactly that. Instead, he walked away from absolute power, and in doing so, reshaped the future of democracy. Washington's rise began long before independence. Born in 1732 into a Virginia planter family, he gained early military experience during the French and Indian War, though that conflict exposed his tactical mistakes. It also forged his reputation for bravery and endurance. By the time the American colonies rebelled against British rule in 1775, Washington was a natural choice to lead the Continental Army. He was not the most brilliant strategist of the era, but he possessed something equally important: the ability to hold an army together against impossible odds. For 8 brutal years, Washington led poorly supplied troops against the most powerful empire in the world. The Continental Army suffered devastating losses, harsh winters, and constant desertions. At Valley Forge, his men froze and starved. Yet Washington stayed with them, sharing their hardship and earning their loyalty. By avoiding total destruction and striking at critical moments, such as the surprise attack at Trenton and the decisive victory at Yorktown, he ultimately forced Britain to accept American independence in 1783. When the war ended, Washington's power reached its peak. He was the most famous man in America. The army adored him. The government under the Articles of Confederation was weak, divided, and ineffective. Some officers believed the nation needed a strong ruler to survive. In 1782, Colonel Louis Nicola even suggested Washington become king. Similar ideas circulated quietly among political circles, inspired by European models of stability. Washington's response was swift and unequivocal. He rejected the proposal with visible anger, calling it dangerous to the cause of liberty. To him, replacing one monarch with another betrayed everything the Revolution stood for. Yet his most powerful statement came not in words, but in action. In December 1783, Washington resigned his commission as commander-in-chief and returned to his farm at Mount Vernon. King George III reportedly said that if Washington truly did that, he would be the greatest man in the world by surrendering military power voluntarily. Washington did something almost unheard of in history. Generals typically used armies to seize control of governments. Washington handed control back to civilian leaders, establishing a precedent that the military must always remain subordinate to elected authority. This single act reassured Americans and foreign powers alike that the new nation would not descend into dictatorship. Washington's influence did not end there. In 1787, he was persuaded to attend the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Though he spoke little, his presence alone lent legitimacy to the proceedings. When the Constitution was ratified, there was no real debate over who should become the first president. Washington was unanimously elected in 1789. As president, he again could have expanded his power. There were no term limits, no clear definition of executive authority, and enormous public trust in his leadership. Instead, Washington deliberately restrained himself. He formed a cabinet to encourage debate, respected the authority of Congress, and avoided royal symbols that might resemble a monarchy. When he stepped down after 2 terms, he created another critical precedent that no president should rule for life. Washington's refusal to become king was not driven by lack of ambition, but by a deep belief in republican government. He understood that the survival of the United States depended not on one man, but on strong institutions and shared civic responsibility. His personal sacrifices set standards that future leaders would be judged against. In an age when power was usually taken by force, George Washington gave it up twice, once as a general and once as president. That decision shaped the identity of the United States more than any single battle or law. He could have been a king. Instead, he chose to be something far rarer in history: a leader who knew when to let go.